When our ego is under attack, reacting at level 1 or 2 is our natural human instinct. But those who you watching, who want to be genuinely intelligent or pragmatic individual, you have to step out from the baseline instinct. You have to make a calculated decision. Do you want to win the argument or do you want to win the person? If your priority is winning the argument, then stay at level 1 or 2. But if your goal is to build sustainable relationship, then you have to operate at advanced level. Look, there is a fundamental misconception about communication skills right now. Most people think having a good communication skill means being articulate, having a sophisticated vocabulary, or being confident in public speeches. But I want to point out a major gap in that thinking. Your true communication skill is not tested when everything is calm and quiet. The real test happens in the heat of the moment, when a conflict actually breaks out. Today, I'm going to break down 3 specific levels of communication in an argument or a relationship conflict. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a framework so you can audit yourself, because understanding where you operate on this spectrum can fundamentally change the dynamics of your personal and professional relationships and arguments. Let's start with the level 1, the primary level. At the ground reality is about 90% of our society is stack operating here. The scenario is simple. 2 people is arguing and both individuals are actively fighting. Nobody is listening. What's the fundamental logic driving this behavior? It's pure ego. Everyone believes that I am right and you are wrong, and they are very busy in proving their point without listening to others. What's the outcome? Shouting, chaos, and total distraction of values. Nobody wins here because, logically, even if you win the argument by overpowering the other person, you actually lost the relationship. This is the most immature and reactive form of communication. Then we move to level 2, the intermediate level. It looks a bit better on the surface, but it's heavily flawed. In this scenario, when a conflict starts, one person gets aggressive and starts blaming, and the other person, they go completely silent. Now you might think, well, that's a good thing. Even at least the argument is not escalating. Yes, it pauses the conflict temporarily, but if you think logically or if you ponder over it, then you will find out that there is zero communication happening. This is not resolution, it is kind of separation. The person who is staying silent is not solving the problem, he is just avoiding it. In psychology, we call it stonewalling, or we can say passive resistance. Resentment builds up silently on both sides, and in the law, a lack of accountability makes it incredibly toxic for any relationship. Now here's where you get the level 3, the advanced level. Very few people, only those with substantial emotional intelligence, operate here. Notice the scenario. An argument breaks out. The other person is misunderstanding you, blaming you, and factually, you are not at the fault. But you don't argue back, and you don't stay silent either. Instead, you do something totally counterintuitive. You take ownership of the conflict. You say, you know what? You are right. I should be more careful how that made you feel. And even if they're the ones at fault, you appreciate them for sharing their frustration. Now, here's the fundamental question you might be asking me right now. What? I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I sacrifice my ego? Isn't that my weakness? No. That's the intellectual difference, bro. Look at the cause and effect. When someone is angry, his logical part of the brain shuts down and the emotional one takes over. They don't want logic, facts, then They want validation. They want someone who acknowledges that their anger is valid. When you operate at advanced level, you give them validation. And actually you are taking control. You are taking the full control of the conflict. You extinguish the fire. And when they are calm, you can simply explain the logic facts later on. But in that exact moment, validation is the only strategic execution. It's not weakness, it's supreme control. You are prioritizing the strategic outcome over your temporary ego. Look, I know it's easier said than done. When our ego is under attack, reacting at level 1 or 2 is our natural human instinct. But those who you watching, who want to be genuinely intelligent or pragmatic individual, you have to step out from the baseline instinct. You have to make a calculated decision. Do you want to win the argument or do you want to win the person? If your priority is winning the argument, then kalai baraugi stay at level 1 or 2. But if your goal is to build sustainable relationship, then you have to operate at advanced level. Remember this principle. You can no longer navigate human relationship with blind faiths of your own rightness. So, next time you find yourself in a conflict, ask this question: which level am I operating right now? So, choose your battles wisely.